If you really want to make it as a musician and learn the ins and outs of the music industry, then How to Make It in the New Music Business is a must read. The third edition of this book just dropped, and it's filled with strategies and tips and updates to not only get your music career started, but sustained in 2023 and beyond. So today we're going to go over what's new in this book and why you might want to pick up a copy for yourself. So the very first edition of How to Make It in the New Music Business came out at the end of 2016, with the second edition coming out at the end of 2019. Just in the past few years since that release, so much has changed in the music industry. The author Ari Herstand has laid out what the music business looks like in the modern era. Now, Ari is not only a musician with a successful music career, but he's the CEO of his very own music business education company, Ari's Take, as well as the host of the award-winning podcast, The New Music Business. Now, if you're familiar with my videos, up until this point, I've loved recommending the second edition of this book, which still holds up, by the way. But now with this new release, you can get the most up-to-date information of what the music industry looks like today. So if you do want to grab a copy, I left a link for this book in the description down below. And if you prefer listening to books, depending on when you're watching this, the audiobook version is either currently in the process of being recorded or has already released. So I left a free Audible trial link in the description as well. Now, in case you couldn't tell, I fully believe that this book is an essential resource for actually understanding how the music business works. So let's go over some of the biggest updates in this third edition of How to Make It in the New Music Business. So what is the biggest change that's happened since the second edition's release in 2019? COVID. When COVID hit, artists had to get creative when the entire world shut down. Just think about all the concerts that were canceled. There was no ticket sales, no merch sales, and no performance revenue at all. Now think about different films and TV shows that were either postponed or fully dropped altogether. All of those orchestral recording sessions were canceled. You could not get different sections of the orchestra all together in a studio. And even if you could, it was all about distance, less musicians in a single space. So a lot of musicians had to turn to live streaming, and that became a huge source of revenue for them. So many different artists found their footing on different platforms like YouTube or Twitch. You could perform, teach, write music live, and build a loyal following while collecting an income from home. And then I've even seen some artists host paid virtual concerts. All of those merch and ticket sales went online. And I've even seen different tiers of ticketing. So there might be that general admission ticket, but then I would see like a VIP ticket where you might get access to a post-show live stream with that band or artist. Even Spitfire Audio and the BBC Symphony Orchestra collaborated on a perform from home project. The musicians would record themselves playing their instrument from home, and all those recordings were combined and mixed together as if it were one cohesive orchestra. Now, even though the world has opened back up in comparison to a few years ago, live streaming has become such a prominent force in the music industry now. So this updated edition of How to Make It in the New Music Business has an entire chapter dedicated to setting up successful live streams for musicians. Now, kind of going off of online content, since 2020, there has been a rise of independent artists through the means of short form video. We've seen so many people get their names out there thanks to platforms like TikTok, Instagram Reels, and now even YouTube Shorts is trying to get into the mix. Let's say, for example, your music is now released, it's on platforms like Apple Music and Spotify, but it's not being picked up by any playlists. Social media platforms like TikTok can have your music be played and used in other people's content. I would even make my own TikTok content. There's just so much potential for discoverability through trending audio, and if you set it up right, that could be an entirely new stream of royalty income. You really don't need a major record label anymore. If anything, these record labels are offering independent artists deals that might not have happened if it weren't for the rise of short-form video. So in his book, Ari takes the time to discuss all things TikTok and how you could benefit from the platform. And even in this previous edition, TikTok was only casually mentioned. That's how far we've come in the past 3 years. I think previous editions of How to Make It in the New Music Business were a little geared towards the traveling recording artist, but in this new edition, there's an entire chapter dedicated to 100+ non-recording artist jobs in the music industry. Just some include music therapist, orchestral staff, music journalist, arranger, copyist, and 95 more. This is a great addition to the book because if you're like me, you're not going on tour or a recording artist at all. That doesn't mean that the concepts in this or older versions of this book can't be applied to your career. But it is nice that anyone from graphic design to business to education can still discover jobs in the music industry. It's sad to say, but we've known for a while how undervalued our work as musicians is in the eyes of major streaming platforms. Spotify and Apple Music will pay out well under a penny per stream. So in this third edition of the book, Ari takes a look at whether or not NFTs and cryptocurrency have the potential to bring some of that missing value back to music. And in case you are new to NFTs, it stands for non-fungible tokens, and it pretty much is a limited digital collectible that has a set value. Artists like Tina Guo, Shawn Mendes, Kings of Leon have all made a substantial income by creating their very own NFTs. I think Ari does a great job in this chapter just explaining more about NFTs and crypto, but more specifically, whether or not musicians could or should benefit from them as a source of income. There's just so much content in this edition of how to make it in the new music business. There's how and why you should approach the media and the press. There's what touring looks like in 2023, an entirely updated section on social media strategies, new text and email promotion etiquette, as well as new ways to get the royalties that you deserve from your music. For years, the previous edition has been one of my personal favorite book recommendations for musicians, so I couldn't be more excited to have this third edition in my hands. And I know that the business side of music is not the most appealing for most artists or creatives, but it has never been more essential to learn, especially in 2023 and beyond. So if you do want to pick up a copy for yourself, don't forget that I left some links for this book and the audio version in the description down below. This is a must-have for any musician, so I really hope that you enjoy it as much as I do, and as always, happy composing.